topic procurement, we all know about it. The essential medicines, medical supplies, the equipment for treatment, everything is the responsibility of procurements. Today's advanced procurement solutions are using automation, AI, predictive analytics for creating seamless and better patient outcomes. What are we going to discuss today? Why streamlining healthcare supply chain and technology is the need of the hour? What are the best practices for cost-effective procurement? How to build partnerships for more transparency and efficiency in healthcare. We have with us Dr. Indu Bansal Aggarwal. She is the Group Director and HOD of Radiation Oncology, Paras Health. Dr. Saurabh Raha, he is the President of Quality and Accreditation, Yashodha Hospital. Mr. K.Y. Shankar, Director Supply Chain, Medical and Regulatory Affairs, Baush and Lomb. Dr. Sunita Kapoor, Director and Laboratory Head, City X-ray and Scan Clinic, Private Limited. To set the context, I'll straight away go to you, Mr. Shankar. How does effective procurement contribute to the overall efficiency of the healthcare system?
Yeah. Thank you, Bilquis. And simply said, how does it impact? Effective procurement ensures that the healthcare products, the timely availability of healthcare products to the healthcare practitioners to ensure they could provide the right treatment, timely treatment. But it's not as simple, because we have to look at it in the context of how the healthcare industry is. It's very unique in the sense that unlike other industries, it has its own uniqueness. One, most importantly, the healthcare industry is working on the human body and their well-being, unlike others. It has a regulatory compliance to be met, and more importantly, it has to ensure quality assurance. It has diverse stakeholders who have different interests, and it's ever-evolving medical technology that you have to keep pace with. So that makes the whole scenario a little more challenging. So ideally speaking, if you look at an ideal procurement strategy, it should definitely ensure quality assurance, it should ensure regulatory compliance, and above all, patient safety. So from what we saw as sort of a back-end operations, I can talk about like how a manufacturing or a marketing company would look at, from where it was sort of a back-end operations, today they have become strategic partners. Okay, I think that's a big shift in the way we are looking at things, and they work in alignment with the overall organization goals. Not to forget, because the healthcare industry is a cost-heavy industry when it comes to right from production to storage to making sure the products are available to the end patient, and it also involves constant investments, because for example, it's not just you launch a product over time. It takes years of work and years of clinical study, years of R&D before the product comes to the patient. So I think it's a continuous improvement that we keep doing in healthcare, and ideally I would just say an ideal effective procurement strategy would mitigate all the risk. It would enforce in fact all the suppliers to ensure quality assurance, and more importantly ethical practices, because that's a very important aspect that we have to look in healthcare. Ethical practices which will result in patient outcomes. I think that's my submission on.
Thank you so much. Very well said, and the context is set for the discussion. Dr. Indu, my question to you, when we are talking here about synergies and collaborations, being a doctor in oncology, how does healthcare providers, management and suppliers, how they can collaborate for better procurement processes?
First of all, good morning everyone, and I want to thank BW Healthcare for having me here. So I think if you would have asked me a few years back, then maybe I would not have been sitting here and procurement issues would have been discussed with the top management. And so I think this is the shift that is happening. And as clinicians, if we have to bring value-based healthcare to any organization, then it's very, very important that we procure the right equipments, and they should be available at the right time, because time is the essence here, you know. So sometimes what happens is that clinicians are not a part of the procurement process, and specifically if in a particular organization there would be multiple doctors working in the same specialty, and they might not be using the same products. Like someone who is doing a joint replacement, so two people might not use the same equipment to do the robotic surgeries, or the two doctors may not be using the same antibiotics for that matter. So what happens is that there is a lot of gap between the products which are available in the market, in the pharmacy, and what are being used. So and specifically if it's a multi-system chain, like a group of hospitals, say Yashodha Hospital, or for that matter Paras Hospital, then the things which are available in the pharmacy, they would be, they go by a bulk purchase, but at the unit level, the things would be entirely different, you know. So that's why there is always some gap between, or some friction between the clinicians who have to actually use the product and the products which are being available in the market. So we need to have a proper, engagement with the primary users, which is the clinicians, and we have to understand that it should be a win-win relationship for both the hospital as well as the users, because we might ask for some product which might be very costly but not bringing that much value to the organization. So the things should give quality, they should be within the budget constraints, but at the bottom line what matters is what value I am giving to the end user, that is my patient. So is that product in concordance or of actual use to the user? That is what is important. So that is where clinicians fit in, and they can help, they can be a part of the process of choosing the right products and the right amount of products, so that there is not much waste, because waste can happen at multiple levels. It can be, the waste can be that the product, say a patient has come in emergency and a life-saving product is not available, and there is some time gap which happens from the pharmacy to the product being available in the emergency, and that could be the crucial time to save the life of a patient. Or an instrument is not working in the OT. The instrument is available, but it's not working. So that's why it's time is a ticking time bomb, you know, when you are dealing with lives. So that's why the waste in procurement of the products, the waste that the product is just lying in the inventory, it is not being used and it gets expired, or the waste in the form of that the new technological products, or we just talked about that new products, they come into the market and we have to be updated with the new products, and they are not available and we are using the outdated products. So that's how clinicians can fit in, and I think we have to work with hands together with the management so that both the parties win.
Fantastic. So, Dr. Saurabh, here I want your inputs that one, we have to maintain the inventories. How do we keep a check on the costs while still maintaining the quality and the inventories also?
Good morning all. First of all, thank you BW Business World, my moderator and my panelists for me having out here. So as we already, Shankar said at context, and ma'am had already put in the clinician part, that how do clinician take in terms of what do they need for patient care. So the management here has a bigger role than to play to meet the expectations of the vendors, the patients, the clinicians, and of course again look at the cost and quality. So first of all, foremost is like, as sir had already put in, that any product which has to be there has to meet the regulatory and the quality standards. That is the first and foremost part. Secondly, it should give improved patient outcomes. So it means it should be comparative in terms of, like, if we have two products, which one is having the best patient outcome, that a feedback we get from the doctors and the clinicians who are using it. And now coming to the entire supply chain. So like as in the previous session also, and ma'am and sir also put in something, we have a lot of automation nowadays, thankfully. And those automations are helping us in various ways, like the blockchain technology, The blockchain technology tells us what is the process flow, where is the product at the present, how much time that product will take to come to us. That again gives us the how to keep the inventory. Right, the predictive analysis part comes in as part of this blockchain technology. So how much inventory we should maintain so that there is no stock out, which again is a problem to the organization and the patients, right? And then when we want to curtail costs, this predictive analysis helps us determine what should be the stock order which we should give for purchasing. The predictive analysis will tell us that these many patients are there for say in the last month, these are the number of patients, these are the number of cases we have done for which these products were required. So this is the, what should I say, minimum quantity I should have at my organization with this the reorder level, right? And now coming to the costing part. So costing again, it's a variable thing. You have various vendors, you have vendors at a local level, you have vendors at a national level, and you have vendors at the international level. So suppose it's a technology which is a high-end technology, you go to an international person who is having that kind of a technology that meets patient outcomes and also is compiling with the quality and the regulatory standards. And when you go to the international market, you have various people who are coming, who are there, who are participating in that. So you have an option to talk to the vendors out there, because there is a competitive market, you also get a variable price from them, and taking into account the price, the number of patients which you need, which you have for that product, the blockchain technology will tell you how much time it will take for them. So you do an effective procurement. Thank you.
Great. Now, Dr. Sunita, my question to you is that we have seen that there is massive change when it comes to diagnostics and screening and scanning technologies. How do you feel that this digital transformation has affected scanning, screening technologies and the procurement of equipment for these healthcare services?
So yeah, there is a lot of screening, scanning technology nowadays at various areas. You see at the airports, it's not working, it's going down. At the airports, you'll see various scanners, some are with ionizing radiation, without ionizing radiations, AI systems, foot scanners, you know, and the works. And a lot of it is now coming into procurement also, actually in all fields. Now, basically, procurement is something that takes away almost 50% of your revenue. And it's very important to form a good strategy for procurement because nowadays so much digital transformation is there. All companies must rethink the processes that they are doing. They must actually take impact of the digital world and also utilize a lot of information that they are generating to improve the output. So what do we expect from a transformation by the digital world? We expect that any good app or a good system should be able to reduce the cost, increase the transparency and traceability, make processes simple and efficient, and then reduce the crisis, sudden crisis, and also be compliant to the needs, compliant to the regulatories, as Sir said. So therefore, looking at the newer tools, which we will talk about soon, it's must that we must find a relevant app or a relevant process and introduce according to our requirements.
Thank you so much for that. Mr. Shankar, I also want to understand from you the compliance and regulatory issues over the last few decades. How these compliance issues have evolved and changed, and what do you see in future?
Yeah, I think when I talk about regulatory, there has been a big change over the last decade. To talk specific for India, for example, the medical device, for that matter, was not regulated till we had the new medical devices rules, which was effective 1st, January 2018. Now, what it means is it brings the entire gamut of supply chain under a regulatory environment, which also meant, I can talk about my own organization, where we also have products which are being sold to an optical store. Now, we can understand hospitals having a regulatory environment and all that, but it was mandatory even for an optical store to get registered to sell not exactly a OTC product, a sort of a contact lens or any other product from their store. Now, even if you had a store, optical store within the, I think Dr. Mahipal is here, so even in Center for Sight, if they had an optical store, even they have to go into those regulatory models. What it means is, it also means that delayed times for launch of new products, when you have a new technology, new products happening globally. Earlier, in a non-regulatory environment, you could bring it into India, more or less same time, or maybe in a space of couple of months or 3 months. But now you have to go through the process of registration of products, which can vary across countries. Like for example, in India, I can talk about where it can take anywhere between 6 to 9 months for a product to get registered, right? So it also means a lot of documentation to be submitted and all that. It takes its own time. From a quality standpoint, I think what has happened is, biggest is the awareness. Now, earlier we used to have, for example, organizations to work more on the principle of lean and mean organizations. What it meant was, as you said, it was more, emphasis was more on the cost. But now I think organizations look at a holistic approach, because they don't want to compromise cost, because they don't want to compromise quality because of cost. So I think that's a big change that you see in manufacturers, you see in marketers, where we tend to put more emphasis on the total cost, which includes other hidden costs too. So it's not just the product cost, what it takes. So which means, as I said, we get into from a sort of a strategic partnership with our vendors, because they are the key. If you look at the entire supply chain, there are two people who are critical. Obviously, you have to have compliance in terms of quality and regulatory, but the person who is the most important person is our vendors, the suppliers. Now, they have to ensure consistent quality. Without that, you can't sustain, your business operations, and you can't even sustain patient outcomes. So it is very important that you sustain quality, and that's what I said in my earlier talk, that we have to, because companies have started enforcing these vendors to look at quality in a big way, and also ensures that they don't use any unethical means to make sure the products are available. So I think that's a big sea change. In fact, it's been a big mindset change. I think it's a transformation which has happened. So if from a product cost, you're looking at something which is more holistic now, and you're looking at the total landed cost, which includes all these other elements that contributes to the product. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Raha, would you like to add on that?
Yeah, so sir had really tell the realistic scenario which has come in now. See now what has happened to healthcare. That healthcare previously was dealing with patients. From patients, we became customers with the private organizations coming in providing health. And now it's beyond customers. It's like guests. So it's like in the hotel industry where guests, when they come in, they need to be taken care of properly. Because why? Because this shift has happened with the population becoming more aware. The internet being available. So when a patient comes to a hospital, he already has Googled what he has, what are the treatment options available. In that treatment options, what are the various drugs which they use, and what company drugs they should come. I have cases in which people, the patients come to a pharmacy and we give him a drug from some Cicadilla. He says, no, I want a Ranbaxy only. So this is how patients have changed to guess, and how they have started becoming assertive of what they get. This is one way it is very good. It is patient empowerment. Patient is aware of himself, is aware of his health, is empowered to take informed decisions about his health. So as sir has said, it's like there's a major shift, and that is a good shift, and people are informed, they are aware, and they are looking for quality. So that's why I said, when ma'am has said that there's a patient outcomes. So if a patient comes to a doctor, he speaks to the doctor, he says, if I go for this surgery and you're suppose taking into case eye surgery only, so if there's lens to be put in, which company lens you're going to put in? What are the pros and cons? So this is how the shift has happened to the entire healthcare environment, and of course the procurement cycle. So again, as I said, there are international regulations. Now people would be aware there's a pharmacovigilance program of India. There's a material vigilance program of India, which takes care of all drugs and devices being used in a hospital on a patient. These are bodies in which we have to report any incidences of anything which has happened untoward with a patient. And they are also very aware, they are also educating patients. So the whole environment has become more of a patient-friendly environment in which we are looking into procurement also with the key eye on patient, what patient is expecting and how do we give patient what they expect. And as Sir had said previously, that if you use a robot and it is not well, the patient will never come back to you. So every healthcare organization is also thinking on giving the best quality product to his patients or her patients so that they do keep on coming whenever they require them. Thank you.
Rightly said. The patient is very well aware and informed nowadays. Dr. Sunita, I want to understand from you that with AI and automation and technologies being involved in healthcare now, how is the upskilling and education of procurement happening, the people in procurement, so that they get the, the correct equipment, the correct medicine, the correct scanning technologies in your case? So please explain that if you can.
Yeah, so basically the target is to not only rationalize the spend, but also bring value to the company and increase the reliability of the company. It's not. So there are lots of tools which are available these days. The commonest ones are the first two which are being used. First is a source to pay or a procure to pay tool, which commonly most of the healthcare industries are using. Source to pay would be, it starts from the sourcing, it starts from the research. It's not just buying from a particular partner. It makes you research also what is available, where all it's available, what's the pricing, what's the TAT, and how is the reliability and what are the reviews. Then you have procure to pay, that starts from you have already selected which source and you just procure to pay. So you have to feed in all your requirements in that. You have to feed in how soon you need a product, what are the pricing and what are the quality, what are the reviews, what are your requirements, customization, and then it gives you the replies, and then all the products are fed in, and that's a procure to pay tool. So source to pay and procure to pay are very commonly used tools in most of the industry, and a lot of people are making apps for this. Then we have data analytics. Data analytics is what everybody calls predictive analysis. Basically based on the requirement, we feed in the data. How many required, and how frequently we are likely to change, upgrade, and what is the pricing we are expecting, and a lot of pre and post data will come out of this. You will feed in a lot of data and you will get a lot of information also out of this. Then you have AI-based tools, a lot of AI-based driven tools. And then we have robotic, RPAs, robotic process automation, for which all the frequently done tasks, like in the finance, you are doing the same thing every time, so repetitive tasks are fed in. So RPA is also coming in a big way. Then of course, Dr. Saurabh talked about blockchain. Blockchain is something which is less understood for procurement yet, but it's got a huge future. You have blocks in which main information is fed, and various blocks are connected by chains, and then analysis is done. So lots of these tools are available, and it's very essential that we switch over from manual processes to these, so that we reduce the pilferage, reduce the wastage, and keep ourselves updated, and keep updating our tools.
Thank you. Dr. Indu, and in fact, after you, I'll open this question to all of the speakers. How do healthcare organizations and healthcare practitioners, how do they ensure the practices are ethical and sustainable when it comes to procurement?
Okay. So I think procurement is a multi-step process where multiple stakeholders are involved. Like it involves people from receivers to approvers to the people who make demands, then the budget people, market analytics people, clinicians, everyone is involved. So in this process, this is very, very important that, as I said, clinical engagement is very important, because if, as I talked about, that multiple clinicians might be involved, so it's very important that we have a clinical database of the doctors which are practicing in that hospital, and we just understand what all products everyone is using. So there could be, say, I'll give you a very simple example of a, say, calcium tablet which is available in the pharmacy. Now everyone in the hospital is prescribing a calcium tablet, but every clinician is writing it by a different name. The problem is that the list of the drugs is with the pharmacy. It's in their system, but in my system, it's not visible to me which product is available. So that's a common problem, because this, the procured items are not visible to the doctors. So that's what happens is, so they suggest their own brand. And because they suggest their own brands, and then the issue arises that which brand to select. Is this an ethical brand? Is this a cost-effective brand? Is it a quality brand? So now, because everyone, the doctors, they don't have any access to the products available. And as I said, in multiple hospitals, again, that's even a bigger problem. For the visiting doctors versus the doctors who are working full-time, it's another problem, you know. So there are multiple problems there. So I think if the clinicians are involved from the beginning, then we can have a database of the clinicians who are visiting that hospital, the requirements of that particular hospital, the brand preferences, and then doctors, I mean the procurement chain can talk to the doctors and tell, okay, these are the most preferred brands and these are the preferred substitutes. So, and then they can have a discussion on which can be taken off, which could be more ethical now. And
So what is your suggestion or probably your ask from the top management, if I may ask?
Yeah. So one is that, as I said, that doctors should be made a part of the procurement team, and there should be frequent meetings with the doctors as well. And maybe one clinician can be involved in the procurement process in the sense like senior doctors who are not practicing too much, or maybe who are involved in the management part of the hospital also, because they can be a bridge between the clinician and the procurement person. So they can speak the same language. They understand the problems of the doctor, and they understand what the management wants from them, and they understand what a patient wants. So they can be between the clinician, between the patient, between the management, provide and help ensure that the quality product is reaching to the patient at the right time. So, and as I said that most of the data sheets, they are on spreadsheets, and which are, you know, they can be everyone can do changes in the spreadsheet. So these are dynamic, you know, so I think in that sequence, I don't know how the procurement happens, but what I feel is that the changes are happening at the same time. So the obsolete products might still be there. So we get a list maybe once in a year that these products are not to be used, but we never get an inventory that these new products are also available. So every clinician is giving a list that I want these products in the pharmacy. So this is very, very important.
You know, most of these inventory modules are three-dimensional. They start with the user, and they're all intelligent. They're all intelligent, and they have the latest. Suppose you say calcium, they will probably have a list of most of the good calcium brands available. And these forms are circulated quarterly, maybe 6 monthly need-based basis. And it's just a suggestion. We can use the tool for this because it's available, and we do it in our setup in the laboratory. And then the users will tick that we require these, and it gets mailed once they are ticked online, and gets mailed to the store, and then inventory is decided on that. And they are so intelligent that there's no tick on these for almost 2 years, so they sort of delete them from the list. So, and then the requirement comes from the user and then goes straight to the store, then the store purchases. So the whole thing is three-dimensional actually. So therefore everybody gets, to have a say in it.
Mr. Shankar, your views on ethics and sustainability in procurement?
Yeah, when you talk about sustainability, like, Dr. Indu was talking about the inventory management, because sometimes they don't get visibility and all that. It is very important that, because that's one of the key that organizations like us, we get into is, real-time data. Because what also happens is in supply chain, normally when you get into a inventory rationalization, what you do is you try and break your inventory into A, B, C, which would mean like, A and B would be, A would be very critical, and you have a very nice visibility of what moves and how much need to be kept, as he talked about the safety stock levels and all that. The real crux and the real challenge for any organization, be it in a hospital environment or even for organization like us, would be the C's. And that's where you have all those obsolescence, and you have all those expiries and everything happening, and you will find alarmingly, like, over the years, maybe 2 or 3 years, nothing has moved, but still it exists in the inventory. Now these things don't help you in sustaining your business in any case, right? I think that's where, we talked about technology which comes in, which brings visibility across the supply chain. It's not just what is lying in your stores or the warehouse, it's also what is lying manufactured at the vendor place. Because what we try and do is, where is the inventory lying? And most companies have multiple warehouses. So what is needed probably in, city A or in a customer A, but then the stock is available in some other warehouse which is in C. So now that is where visibility makes a big impact for us, and we make sure that we draw those products and supply to the right place rather than rotting in some other place. So this visibility is very important, right? Also, for sustaining, it is very important that you have to be a more resilient organization, because gone are the days when you are a lean and a mean organization. Today, you have to be more like, more agile. Okay, because earlier in the lean and mean you are more fragile, right? So typically you are only looking at cost and how lean can I be in the organization. But now it's more important to sustain. You will have to be more agile and at the same time more flexible, because otherwise you will not be in a position to sustain the business. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Some closing remarks from you, Dr. Saurabh.
So as everybody can see that the scenario of the procurement has become more, I would say, patient-friendly, automated, focused on clinicians' needs, and of course, sustainable. So with sustainability, as everybody would know that we are moving into what we call the ESG, environmental sustainable goals. So there we do procurement which follows the green procurement policies, buying things which can be recycled or which is taken from organizations who are working on the green certification, thus promoting those organizations also, and also sustaining the environment. So these green organizations or their products are the ones which are getting recycled for the society also. And besides, the organizations also receive from the government certain benefits when you use these kind of products. So this is one mode on the sustainability. Another point regarding the inventory. So as we talk deeply about inventory, we use many kinds of things which are we have a classification of drugs and products in very essential, and desirable. So that there is nothing which is left. Or we also have a classification of fast moving, slow moving, normal and obsolete. We have a re-evaluation of the inventory on a regular basis. There is a drug and therapeutic committee which finalizes a formulary which is available to all clinicians across the hospital. Every quarterly there is a meeting on the drugs and the medical products which are being used in the hospital, whether they are improving patient outcomes and whether they are desirable by the clinicians. So it's a multi-pronged approach which any hospital nowadays is going about, so as to take into account the clinician's need, the patient outcomes, and of course sustain along with the purchasing power. So again in purchasing we have various modes of purchasing. We have a group purchasing where we have a demand aggregation in which we told that during doing predictive analysis you tend to find out how much stock you should order so as to get a competitive rate of, if the volume of product is more, you get a more competitive rate. So these are various ways and methods by using blockchain technology, AI tools, and of course taking into account whatever is the requirement of all the stakeholders that a procurement is now shaping up. And I think I think non-healthcare organizations already had gone into this long back, but with the coming up of our patients who have now become guests, we have also joined the train bandwagon, though maybe a little late, but we are also there. Thank you.
Great. We just have time for one final quick question. Dr. Sunita, how do you see healthcare procurement changing in the next 5 years?
Yeah, the patient's requirements has absolutely changed now, as Dr. Saurabh put it. Patients want much faster reports or services. Patients want very good quality. They want very affordable. They are very aware and educated now. And then they also want that everything should happen at their doorstep. So the requirements are so many that we must make sure that we personalize the products that we buy. We need to personalize them. Of course, products have to be eco-friendly and sustainable, and we have to keep analyzing the data continuously to upgrade ourselves from the predictive analytic tools that we are going to start using.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful discussion. Thank you so much, Dr. Sunita, Dr. Indu, Mr. Shankar, and Dr. Saurabh. That was wonderful to have you here with us, and fantastic discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you.